Eh, Everybody welcome, you're hanging out with Ben. This is the Hardcore Punk Project here on the X. And yes, it's true, this meeting is being recorded because I'm here with Louis Tentsos of Diamond Weapon. Do you know that feeling you get deep down in your gut when, despite what everyone else says, you're right about something? When karma finally catches up to a wrongdoer, or the realization that you finally found peace with a bad breakup with your partner? If so, you may identify with Toronto's post-hardcore band, Diamond Weapon. Taking inspiration from groups like The Dispute, Me Without You, Refused, and At the Drive-In, one band that I know.
Nice.
And the band prides themselves on aggressive guitars, emotional lyrics, and high-intensity shows. Although not always pretty, it's undeniable that their music is honest and vulnerable. So, first off, you okay with being interviewed by a teen?
Oh yeah. No, this is great. I used to be a teenager once, so it's
Yep.
all good by me. Yeah, it's lovely.
Mhm. So, is it really true that you guys formed after finding each other on Kijiji and Craigslist?
That is true. Yes. Marco and Marco's the bass player in the band. We were in a band prior to Diamond Weapon. And when that band sort of fizzled out, we both were on the same page musically and we wanted to keep making music, but we couldn't just do it, the two of us. So I just put like a posting on Craigslist. It's like, post hardcore band, into Loud Dispute, refused at the drive-in, looking for members. And we found Nick that way, and we found Jason that way. Jason was particularly impressive because his audition was the night of like a major snowstorm where we got like 20 centimeters of snow, and he was early. And I was like, okay, yeah, I want this guy in the band for sure.
Yeah, that's perfect timing.
Oh, yeah.
hmm Okay, next question I have. Are you secretly Vsauce Michael?
No, I'm not. I've seen a few Vsauce videos in my day, but no, we're different people.
I mean, oh god, that's a lot of glare, but look at that. It looks almost like you.
Now I will say my beard, I had just shaved it like last week to coincide with the start of the NHL playoffs. But it was up until like I guess last Saturday was fairly massive. So I was just like full Vsauce mode.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the songs from the upcoming Eyes EP, shall we?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. First song is The End of Winter. First off, I have to ask, is this indeed about winter or feelings towards someone or something?
I think it's less about winter, but a lot about the temperature, just feeling cold, almost like barren, that sort of feeling. Like the bulk of the record is fairly sort of like emotional and not necessarily like in a positive light. It's a lot of like there's a lot of stuff wrong in the world, and that's how we view it. And the end of the winter is just sort of like it's a little dichotomy because it's like you've just been feeling this feeling of cold and barrenness for a long time. Nothing's growing, but at the same time, you're approaching the end of it. Spring is just around the corner. You just need to get through this one stretch, and things will get better. So it's like it's the end of the winter. It's the end of these feelings.
Alright, I get that. How would you describe your band as a drink, like hot tea or cold beer or something like that?
Ooh, good question. I was not prepared for that one. It would be I wonder if we would maybe like Orbeez, like it's like a soda, but it's with something weird floating in it, like
Mhm.
one of that sort of like thing. I can't even think of something to describe it, but yeah, just like a weird drink with something that tastes good but isn't supposed to be in there. Like
Hmm.
maybe like a ginger beer, but with actual pieces of like ginger floating in it.
Okay, so a room temperature superconductor, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Okay, now speaking of that song, it also fades perfectly into the next song, but we'll get to that in a moment.
hmm
Now, as a food, now, how would you describe the band as a food?
Band is a food. Uh, You know what would be a good one, and I know this because Jason, our drummer, really prides himself. It's like he really makes a mean quesadilla. I would describe the band as a mean quesadilla. It's just like a little mix of cheese, but some good protein in there and some hot, spicy hot peppers. So it's just like a nice combination of ingredients that blends well with each other, but still have like a distinct element of everything. It's cheesy, it's spicy, but it's savory as well.
Mhm. So you combine the two answers, and that's what you're going to serve on stage.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. It's just like a
Mhm.
sort of like, something. It's comfort food, but it's still like it's still wild in an experience.
All right. Can you tell us two things on your bucket list?
So we've toured, especially across Ontario and stuff like that. I've never played a show in the States. We've largely played just shows in Canada. I would love to tour the States at some point. It's just to have that as sort of like a thing. It's like, hey, this is what I did. Like one day, when I have a kids, it's like, be able to tell them, it's like, your dad was a rock star once upon a time, and he went on tour all across the world and stuff like that. So I think touring the States would be a really, really cool thing to do. But I'm non-musical bucket list too. I would really love to go to like a destination vacation. I've gone to like European vacations. I've gone all the places. I would love to go to a place like Bora Bora or the Maldives, and just like where they have the cabins like on the water. You sleep above the water and stuff like that. That would be really cool. So that would be on my bucket list as well.
Yeah, the thing about the Maldives, they're kind of experiencing rising water levels. Most of the islands are going to be destroyed.
Exactly. So I guess that's the thing. I got to get it done sooner rather than later, or the ideal thing is like maybe we can get climate change under control and it's not so much a threat anymore.
Yep, that makes sense too. When and where do you mostly get inspired for songwriting?
um I think it's a process. I just love listening to music. Like, doesn't matter the genre or anything, but I just love listening. And my main thing is like I don't really like listening to like singles and songs one offs. Give me a whole record or a whole EP, and I want to listen to it front to back without interruptions. That's for me like the best way to experience music. And it's a little bit traditional, but that's for me. But just like I'll listen to a record, and I'll just, it'll inspire me just to pick up the guitar and mess around with the ideas. So I usually get inspired by other musicians and sort of what they do. Lyrically, it's one of those things. I have like a little like book next to my night table, like because there's oftentimes like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and have like an idea, and I have to make sure I write it down. That sort of thing. There's one line on the album, in the house on 65th Street, where I got inspiration. It's like I had done my laundry. I was doing all in the same colors, and I forgot to get my bed sheets. I'm like, oops, I forgot, and it's kind of late now. Oh well, one more night on these dirty sheets. And then I stopped, and then I went, I got to write that down. That's a brilliant lyric, sort of thing. So inspiration comes from all sorts of weird places with the lyrics, but that's why I always make sure to have a pen and some paper somewhere nearby, just when inspiration hits, that I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of myself. I listened to A Relationship of Command a couple weeks ago, and it inspired me to pick up guitar again instead of being biased to the bass.
Oh, it's one I should mention. The guitars behind you are pretty sweet over there. I'm a big fan. There we go.
Okay, we're back now. I paused the meeting with my chin, and then I stopped it trying to resume it.
That's all good. Yeah, but you allowed me to admire your guitars there, so that's all great.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship is like, I go back and forth with who when people ask us like, oh, what's your favorite band? I usually change all the time, but I'm very steadfast. The Relationship of Command is my favorite album of all time, just because it's so aggressive, it's so chaotic, but it's still very tight at the same time. And you have these dynamic shifts where it goes from quiet to loud and quiet to loud. I'm like, this is a masterpiece. This is perfect. Mm-hmm. So I can understand when you say you're just like, I listened to that album and I just wanted to pick up the guitar, because I'm like, yeah, me too.
And I also have some other stuff too.
Oh, is that a Ernie Ball bass?
Uh, this is a Toby. That is an Ernie Ball. Yes.
Nice. Oh yeah, beautiful set there. So my den is in the other room, but I have my acoustic and I have my Telecaster. Most of my guitars are at the studio, which is unfortunately closed right now because of Ontario lockdown. But I've got a, you know, I'm a Fender man. I'm very happy with sort of like my selection.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what I was talking about earlier, the end of winter kind of perfectly fades into revenge is not a dish, it's a concept.
Mm-hmm.
This song hit home with my parents, as this sort of thing happened 30 years ago to a relative's family. I'm not going to go into any detail, though, because they don't want me to.
It's fair, yep.
But this is a powerful song. I feel like this could become a hit. This could be an anthem to people who have lost children to people. What or who inspired this song?
So I was watching, it was a compilation video. I can't remember if it was on TV or it was YouTube. It was one of the two, but it was like a compilation of crazy courtroom moments caught on tape. And it was a video of a father who his daughter was a murder victim. And at the sentencing hearing, he was asked to give a statement. And while he was giving the statement, he saw his daughter's killer laughing at him and charged him. And okay, oh yeah, so it was definitely YouTube, and I'll get to that. So he he jumped over the table and started to he tried to choke him out before the police and everyone pulled him away. And it was on YouTube because I remember reading the comments. All the comments on the video were like, "Oh, I wish everyone was a little," or the police were slower in responding, or it's like, "Oh, if I was in the same scenario, I would have done the exact same thing." And I'm like, wow, what a commentary. It's everyone knows that is an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind, but everyone is being to be but I get why he did this, and I get why he's coming from. And it led me to believe that it's we are literally just sort of hanging on a thread, keeping society together. And this is sort of it was evidence of that. And my cat's making a guest appearance. It's just we're literally just a stone's throw away from losing it all, this gentleman did. So I sort of wrote the song. It's not the story, but it was inspired of that story where a father sort of lost his daughter, and when he feels the system is not giving him injustice, then he decides to take justice into his own hands. And where most people are that was wrong, but we also understand why.
Mm-hmm. All right. If this song was covered by another band, which band would you want it to be and why?
Oh, I would love to hear the Deftones do a version of this song.
Deftones, interesting.
Yeah, I feel like they would make it a little bit spacier, maybe a little bit more chill, but still have the same sort of intensity. So if I were to pick one band, I think Deftones could do a really cool, much cooler than we do version of it.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me because they have an aggressive song from the White Pony album called Elite. So I think that Revenge would somehow match up with Elite in some way.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they would give it a really, really cool vibe.
Although Chino's vocal style doesn't totally match the song, but in his own way, I'm sure he'd make it sound cool.
Exactly. And I think that's the cool thing with really well done covers. They keep the element of the original, but they throw in their sort of own flavor, into it. And it's you don't have to do it sort of tone for tone, word for word sort of thing. We did a cover a couple years ago of it's called Run With Us. It was from the Canadian cartoon The Raccoons. And ours was a lot more sort of on the harder side, the heavier side, but the Kevin Gillis, the guy who created the cartoon characters, actually he did a comic book convention, and he was check out this Canadian punk band who did a a Run With Us cover, and like, wow, that was really cool. It's like, it's very different because the original was like very poppy and very 80s, and we did it sort of like, on the punk side, but it works. It always, the best covers always have, the band throws their own flavor on it.
Got it. If this song was your only hit, say like a one-hit wonder, and you made the big bucks, how would you feel?
I would feel grateful. And that's it's one of those things where I do this because, and I speak for the whole band. It's like, we do this because we enjoy it. And I don't think it's any of our goals to sort of like, oh, take over the world, or we want to be the biggest thing, since sliced bread or something. Like, we do this because we have fun doing it, and we really like enjoying writing songs, making music, and performing. If one of them became a hit, and even if it was only like a one hit and that was it and I was done, I'd be like, that we had a good run. I'm very appreciative of that, because I would still be doing this regardless of whether it was a hit or not.
All right. Would you donate any of the proceeds to charity, and if yes, which one would it be and why?
I think definitely yes. I think, regardless of whether stuff makes money or not, I try to donate as much to charities as I can. I'm usually pretty good with about sort of, two causes that are close to my heart. Anything to do with animals. I've donated to the Toronto Humane Society before. Love my cat, love dogs. Animal welfare in general is great. And anything to do with mental health. I'm a big proponent of sort of like, mental health advocacy. We have CAMH here in Toronto for the Center for Mental Health and Addiction. At the height of the Black Lives Matter movement last year, I made a donation to the Black Health Alliance, because they were developing programs for people who were experiencing trauma, seeing all this stuff on the news and stuff like that, to have access to someone to talk to and to walk them through them. I'm like, that's a good cause. I'm going to donate to that. So those are the two sort of like big causes where it's like, if a whole bunch of money came in all at once, I'm like, okay, let's spread the wealth. Let's make, it's like, so much of our music is so negative, but it's such a positive outlet for me to release that stuff. Let's make sure for people who may not be musicians, have that be able to have the same outlet for their own experiences.
All right, now let's see if I can say the name of the third song. Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy.
That is correct.
All right, good, because I messed it up the first time I was trying to say it.
It's, I usually, when we say the song title, when we write it down on set lists and everything like that, we just put CTE. And that's it. But we wanted, we wanted the scientific title on the record.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. The drums are good. The bass is kind of drowned out a bit. I think that was probably just my headphones.
I wouldn't know. I'd have to listen through your headphones.
I think it's just my headphones. I could hear some bass in there.
Nice, yeah. Now the bass is popping in that one.
Yeah. Is this one about some kind of head injury?
It is based, that one's on a more personal experience, where like revenge is more sort of like me sort of like trying to see the world through someone else's eyes. This is actually sort of happened to me. I was playing hockey and I had literally just come back from a shoulder injury, and it was my first game back, and I got clocked in the head hard. And it was like a grade 2 concussion. Like, it was pretty bad. It lasted a couple months actually. And I remember just being, the song came out of like the frustration where there was a point where I was worried, is like, I think my body might be changed forever. I don't think I will ever get back to normal. How do I deal with that? And I sort of like wrote that song based on that perspective. It's like being frustrated and starting to develop hatred towards your own body, which is definitely not a healthy thing. And I think that me writing that song helped me sort of like work through those feelings, work through those emotions, where I'm just like, this is cool, but I don't want to hate this, or I mean, this is not cool, but I don't want to hate myself for it. So that sort of thing.
Yep, I get it. Okay. Now, you have 10 minutes in a room alone with one of your biggest musical influences. Let's just say Cedric Bixler Zavala.
Mm-hmm.
What would you talk about and why?
I would, especially with Cedric, I would love to just hear about his lyrical writing style and how he's comfortable with it. The two bands like lyrically that I'm very very influenced by were sort of Cedric Bixler and Jeff Rickley from Thursday, two of my favorite influence. But they have a completely different writing style than I do because their lyrics are a little bit more abstract, a lot more metaphors and stuff like that. And I used to try and write that way because, you know, those were like my idols. Those are the people I looked up to. I wanted to do it. And everything I wrote was just cheesy. And I was like, I was never happy with my lyrics. And I was just like, this isn't fun. This is, not what I want to do. And I remember having a conversation with, I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Rob from the band Hot Kid, maybe. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong, but he was like, I was talking about, I had, because I was a singer a long time ago in like an emo band, but I had stopped in the next band. I just focused on guitar and I loved it. When we started Diamond Weapon, we couldn't find a singer we liked. So I'm like, I'll just do it. But I like writing lyrics is my least favorite part. And I was having a conversation where I was like, it's like, I'm never happy with my lyrics. I always find them cheesy. And he was like, well, I mean, in my experience with you, you're just very good at telling stories. Just tell stories. Just be upfront. Don't go into like lavish description and do this like, it's just, Three Little Pigs, tell the story. And, those are your lyrics. And I'm like, he's got a point there. Like I will I can ramble on for hours and hours and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, let's shift focus. Let's not make it so frilly. Let's not make it so just tell a story that's meaningful to you. And that's the writing style that I developed. But I would love to, if I got into a room with Cedric, to be like, how do you write and how do you finish and be like, yep, I'm happy with that. And not finish like, okay, no, this is cheesy, this is weird and stuff like that. It's like I would love that sort of like that confidence in his lyric and his lyric writing ability. And that might be a projection. Maybe he's not that confident. Maybe he writes his lyrics and they go through like changes where he's not happy and he's like, this doesn't work. So that might just be a projection. But as someone who's like a lyrical influence on me, that would be the question I would ask.
Okay. Yeah, Cedric's writing style is pretty interesting, how he likes to incorporate real-life stuff into his music, kind of like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Arc Arsenal might be about Jeffrey Dahmer, the One-Armed Scissor might be about touring, etc.
Yeah. He's one of my favorites because it's just so, it's like, his lyrics are like the word equivalent of painting a picture, like painting
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the next song is The Academy of Young Lions. When I heard this, I was like, is this supposed to be nu metal?
I don't think so. No, if it is, it was not intentional. Like it just so happened to be that way.
Well, I mean, first you hear rapping and then you hear somebody slamming on a piano, so I'm naturally assuming it's nu metal.
Yeah, I think we did. I know it was a conscious thing to try and incorporate more synths, more piano and stuff like that. I've really been experimenting with that stuff as of late and really on this record, but it's not like it's like, okay, I'm gonna write a nu metal song. It did not happen that way.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to mimic the style of nu metal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Does anyone do new? I guess there are still nu metal bands, but it's very like I was in high school like when when Korn and Limp Bizkit and those bands were really at their height. And I could never, I mean, Korn a little bit, like their first album was actually pretty good, but like Limp Bizkit, I could just never get into. It was just like, what is this? This is weird. This is very superficial.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what Limp Bizkit is.
Yeah.
Okay. What can you say about the Academy of Young Lions?
So this one was written, I remember I was visiting my grandmother in the East Coast of Canada, and there was a breaking news story about a shooting. It was in Texas. It was just outside of Dallas. I can't remember the actual, they all have names like the Parkland shooting, the Columbine shooting. This one had a name, but I can't remember where it was. I do remember it being really upset because I found out the shooter was Greek, and I'm Greek. So I'm like, oh, this is not a good look, sort of thing. But the thing that struck me was all the news reporters were there. They're trying to get interview students. And one student was talking, and the reporter asked her, it's like, did you ever think this would happen at your school? And she said, yeah, of course. This is the United States. Like, it's literally just like the odds are fairly reasonable. You will go through a school shooting at some point in your life. And I was like, my goodness, like, that's a terrible way to live. Just like going to school every day and wondering, is this the day? Like, that's awful. So the Academy of Young Lions sort of like came out of that. It's like, how tough-skinned and how hard like so many of the youth in the States have to be, because they're literally going to school not knowing whether if they're going home that day, because just the odds of a school shooting being tremendous, like, maybe not tremendously high, but much higher than it is anywhere else in the world. So that sort of sentiment was the inspiration for that song.
Mm-hmm. I get it now. That is a pretty bad way to live, but it's reality.
Exactly. Yeah. It's I write a song about it, but for a lot of people a lot of students in the States, that's everyday life.
Okay. If you had to choose one time in the past to live in, when would it be? Like, would you be a pirate? Would you be a cowboy? Would you be a Viking? Would you be a gladiator, or why?
Ooh. That's a good question. I just finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so like Viking is really tempting. But I would like to go back to like especially being like a Greek person, like the early days of Greece, like the days of Alexander the Great. I guess those would be considered gladiator times, right?
Mm.
But just like the birth of the Olympics, where Plato, Socrates, all those people were teaching philosophy and stuff like that. It was really for like the birth of civilization. It's like I would love to be, especially coming from 3,000 years in the future, to be like, it's like, this is where it started, to see it in like its primitive form and seeing if it was better, if we've just really ruined it since then.
Yeah, that's a pretty good choice.
Now
on to the present.
Yes.
The way that the world is headed, what are your thoughts on sustainable food? Should it be altered in any way?
Yes, I think so. Maybe not the food itself, but I think our eating habits are probably going to have to change. I actually just made the conscious decision like recently. It's like I need to just cut down on eating beef. I love a good burger as much as anyone else, but it's like, there were times I was eating like a hamburger, beef udon, beef burritos, like all in a week. I'm like, let's limit it to like once a week, just because beef consumption is really not sort of great for climate change. I think the reality is insect protein is coming. And we should probably be ready for it. I actually ate at the Canadian National Exhibition a couple of years ago. They had cricket tacos, And I'm like, oh, I have to try this. And it was delicious. Like, I actually enjoyed it very much. They were like infused with like Tabasco sauce. They were like a little bit spicy and lime juice. I'm like, this is actually great. It was, yeah. So I think that's usually the reaction. It's just like, no, and I'm like, but hey, as someone who's been there, it's actually not that bad. And I think insect protein or just plant-based protein. I think like the Impossible Burgers, that sort of thing, are sort of are nothing's ideal. Like anything that's sort of like grilled is still going to be like fatty and unhealthy. But as long as it's better for the planet, that's better in the long run.
All right. Now, since we're running out of time here, I'm going to ask one more question, and this is about the song "The House on 65th Street."
Yes.
What does the cat represent?
So I don't want it because this one is like a very personal story. So, but the reality is, I'm probably going to have to talk about this song over and over again. So I think I have to get to it. So the reason why we did with the cat for the lyric video is we have a music video, we have a concept ready to go, and we actually just got the okay today to be able to shoot the music video. But for a while they're like, it's locked down, we're only doing permits for certain projects and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, we have this song coming out, we would like to do a music video for it. It's like, well, you'll have to wait. So I was just like, well, so we need to do like a lyric video. What does the internet love? Cats. Internet love cats. So let's just do a lyric video with a cat, and that's it. And so that was based on that. But the cat in the video, Jackson, who you saw walk across the screen earlier, is very particular because that song was written about a relationship I had earlier in my life. And when my partner at the time and I were together, we adopted Jackson the cat in the video together. So after the breakup, I kept the cat and everything like that. And he's kind of like a little bit of a reminder of that relationship. So he was actually a perfect fit for that video and for that song, considering the song's content.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a breakup song done right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, oh wait, there is one more question.
I'm ready. This is a bonus question.
No, this is a question that I ask all the artists I interview.
Nice.
Will you accept a challenge from me?
Yes, I will. I mean, I should probably listen to what the challenge is first, but I'm in.
Oh, are you sure that you want to do this?
Now that you say that, I'm a little bit more apprehensive, but you only live once. Let's do it.
Okay, I want you to cover Beer for My Horses by Toby Keith in your style and upload it to YouTube.
Okay, I know you're going to upload this interview to YouTube, so I'll be able to write down the song and everything like that later, but I'll see what I could do in our style, like a Diamond Weapon style.
Yes.
All right, I'll talk to the boys. I'll see if I can convince them.
Yeah, as long as if they have country roots, they're probably gonna do it.
I don't know if any of us have country roots. I'm trying to think. It's just like we mostly come from like a punk and metal background. It's like, the countryest I get is Johnny Cash, and that's even debatable. So, but if it's a good song, I'm sure. Like we already did like I said, we did like the '80s pop song cover. I'm like, hey, a country cover is not outside of the realm of possibility. So I'll listen to the song. I'll look it up. I'll see if I can convince the boys to do it.
All right. Well, that's it now. That's all the time we have. So thank you, Louis, for joining me here on the X.
Pleasure to meet you, Ben, and great talking to you.
All right. Bye-bye.